Welcome to Leadership Moments.
In every great leader's life, there are pivotal moments that shape their character, test their resilience, and awaken their vision.
Together, we'll uncover the invaluable lessons hidden within these transformative moments.
Welcome to Leadership Moments podcast. I am Tracy Ann Palmer, and I will be your host today. And I am thrilled to introduce you to Jason Torrez, who is the Executive Director of IT at Grady Holdings, where he drives the technical and cultural transformation of the company's IT and cybersecurity capabilities. Jason has over 25 years. He's held various leadership roles with General Electric, Nationwide Insurance, spanning enterprise IT strategy, cybersecurity, software engineering, data strategy, and infrastructure, and is a fabulous leader. I'm really looking forward to introducing him to all of you today. And I know that you're going to really enjoy the leadership conversation. Hey, Jason, so great to have you on the podcast today. As you know, I'm a big fan, and I get the opportunity to spend and privileged time to spend a lot of time with you, which is always amazing. But I wanted to spend some time with you on the show today and give you an opportunity to talk a little bit to our audience.
And I am super excited to be here, and I appreciate the invitation. You are, you've always been a very inspiring leader, and so I'm very happy to speak with you today.
Awesome, great. I'm going to dive right in because I know we've had an opportunity to have you spend some time with our RISE students on the topic of leadership. So I know you and I are passionate about this, and I wanted you to spend some time talking about it with our audience today. But just to get us started, you've been leading IT teams in this, fast, ever-evolving tech industry. I want you to share a little bit about your journey and what has brought you to your current role.
So I started my career really building a strong foundation in information technology, software engineering infrastructure with a company named Fortis Benefits. And I was incredibly fortunate to have great leaders through my career. So I'm going to mention a few as we talk through, just because I think they certainly deserve it, and it plays into how I feel about mentorship. But so I worked for a gentleman named Todd Johns very early in my career. He gave me some opportunities that looking back, was really a gift. And I will always remember Todd Johns had a picture of flowers that he drew in his cube at our office, and it came out of a leadership training that he attended, where he drew what his perspective of leadership was. It was like gardening, growing flowers, and that has stuck with me through my whole career. I at the same time, while he was a wonderful people leader, he paired me up with an exceptional technical mentor and coach, a gentleman named Bill Underwood, who really helped me dive in and to understand how technology works in an enterprise. And through my career, I'll mention a few others as we go along, but that's been. Without those people, I certainly would not be the person I am today, and I would not have progressed through my career. And so when we talk about mentorship, those people, I feel like, they invested, they gave, they made an impact in my life, and it has helped me to realize that we have the opportunity to do the same. And I almost feel a sense of obligation, to honor the contributions that they've made by doing my best to do the same. But so I'll speak just a little bit more than probably about the technical career. So as I progressed through my career, I began to take on increasing responsibility, which eventually led to leading, some complicated, globally impacting IT organizations for companies like General Electric, GE Aerospace, and now at Grady Holdings, where I'm responsible for all IT and cybersecurity for the company.
That's fantastic. That's really great. And great, certainly great pedigree working for some of those organizations. And I love what you spoke about in terms of those that helped you become who you are today. We don't get here alone. And if we think we do, then we have to sort of recheck that gut. Because it's definitely through people like that we get to, who inspire us, but also teach us, right? Which is so incredibly important. One question I have for you is, based on that, I'd love you to just describe your leadership style and what's important to you.
Yeah, when I thought about this, it hit me. My grandmother, my grandma Trina, and my grandfather demonstrated servant leadership to me before the term was a common term. And so looking back, I saw the way that they, led their family, did their jobs, and contributed to the community. And it was really kind of cool. It took me a long time to connect that the concept of servant leadership, which I firmly believe in, right? That is, if I had to use words to describe this style, that's my aspiration. But I just think it's so neat to look back and see that I had those models before it was named. So I believe very much in servant leadership. I believe very much in, kind of the inverted pyramid of an organization where leaders are serving their employees, and we're here to provide context, direction, but to support and to clear obstacles. I'm very passionate about mobilizing teams around meaning, and so for me, meaning is going to be probably a thread that I hit several times as we're talking. It's our responsibility as leaders to clearly articulate why the company's here and what are we trying to accomplish in the world. And so that's the big picture. And I think that's a decision point that for employees, is this the company I want to work for? Do I believe in the mission? And if we can't articulate that, then that's a failure. And, honestly, I think it's our responsibility to connect the impact the organization seeks to have on the world to the work that they do every day. Large organizations, that's hard to do. Especially, I think, in some IT organizations where you've got enterprise IT, where you might be 3 steps away from the customer, or from how you really impact on the world. So, so I'm very passionate about that, like, articulation of meaning, both in terms of what's the company here to do, but also like values, personal values. Do we have the space to understand our values, and how do we then honor those values every day on the job? And I believe if you can connect those things, meaning and honoring your values, you can create a very welcoming environment.
I really love that. I that so resonates with me. I know it's going to resonate with our audience as well, because I think, even as I think as I have matured in my career, and I'm sure I'm speaking for many people listening now, one thing we know to be true is we want to work in an environment that supports who we are and values who we are. And that is right down to the servant leadership pieces, right? Because as leaders, we have accountability. It's a responsibility. It's a privilege. And if we don't see it that way, then we have to, again, sort of recheck the value system of why we became leaders to begin with and why we are leaders today. It is to make people better. It is to make companies better and businesses better. But I love what you said about the meaning, because people have to believe in what they are doing every day. They have to believe they're making a difference.
Yeah. And again, you talk about responsibility and accountability, and something that has occurred to me later in life that I probably would have liked, but it is like we pick that up and choosing to carry the responsibility. And again, whether that means going back to like, who's invested in you? Are you honoring the gift that they gave you by trying your best to invest in others? Like that, I don't know if it was 10 years ago, the concept of legacy to me was out of reach. And then as I progressed through my career and had some wonderful experiences, worked with some wonderful people, it became clear, like, no, it is possible. But for me, it's through people for sure. I picture that, again, going back, Todd invested in me, and I know he invested in others as well. And I hope that every one of them feels the same sense of obligation and they're doing the same thing. And so, 1 to 10 to 100, and we are investing in our community. It's really an awesome responsibility.
Yeah. And that I call that the ripple effect, right? It's the whole, it becomes contagious actually. And when you can find a community of people of like minds that are doing that, you can imagine the impact you can have. Sometimes you don't even know you've had an impact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. It's amazing. So one of the areas, we as we go through leadership, we all have successes and challenges. I'd love you to just talk a little bit about maybe any leadership lessons that you've learned from leading specifically in the tech industry that you can share with our audience.
Sure. If you're okay, I think I've got 2 or 3 that I have in mind. The first one of them is it's about adaptability. And, early in my career, I was very focused on the technology, which is wonderful. But I've been around long enough that back then you could kind of pick some technologies and you could make a career of them. You could make a good long run, in certain technologies. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think that, you've got to be very skilled on the technical aspects. So I want to be very clear on that. So that's for sure. But you've got to pick your head up, and, to be a critical piece to adaptability is context. And so you've got to pick your head up and look around and see the way things are changing. And as you grow in responsibility, I think it's the leader's responsibility to maintain that perspective. You build the right team and you trust. And then as you're running, you got to be there looking around to see how the world's changing. So, when you need to double down or adjust. So, so I think for adaptability, with the prereq of context, and there's a piece of context that again I learned later than I would have liked. For me, that the concept of networking early in my career felt self-serving, and to be honest, I just wasn't even very comfortable with it. I think by nature I'm an introvert, but I always looked at it like, am I going into this situation trying to get something from others? And I never liked that. But then I wish I could remember who, but someone educated me and said, like, you are part of a network. You're a part of many networks, whether you like it or not. And networking is learning how the network works, learning the people that are in the network, and then being able to, contribute to that community. So then for me, that really changed things in my own head. And I say the networking piece because, again, to go to context, the more information that you can get from as many sources as you can get, and then to be able to share that context with your team, and to be able to say, like, I've got lots of perspectives on this. Like, this is why I think we should be doing certain things. I think it's helpful, but also, again, I think it's a responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah. I could not agree with you more. And the other thing, which is so interesting about this whole concept of networking, and we spend a lot of time in leadership, the RISE program together. A lot of people say, well, I'm at a point in my career where I haven't got a network, and I haven't got people that I can go to get a different perspective or a different understanding. And we all need that, because, to your point, the world is changing around us so fast, and being insular in our environments, you have a myopic focus. You get very myopically focused on your world and your environment and what's going on there. But as leaders, we got to look at the big picture. We have to always be considering the future, and technology is core to every single business, right? So, we have to be, and every person in the business, because everyone in the business has to be technology enabled in some fashion. So you've got to be keeping up with that. And what better way than to be, out there with your peers, with those in the industry that are like-minded and learning from each other. That's the value.
Completely agree. And I think that, Tracy and you and I, we participate in some of the same communities. So as an example, Sim Detroit is a wonderful organization. It's one that's really helped me connect locally in the community, and it brings me more joy in my career. And I'd say more than career. I mean, you're building genuine relationships as you are pursuing something that's meaningful. And so when we work together, in mentorships, we both care about that, and we're part of a community of dozens of other people local who care so much about it that they volunteer their time to do that. And it's, I don't think anybody's a perfect mentor, and so there's growth that comes along with that. But here you are with a community of people who are all trying to get better at mentorship. It's that community is spectacular. I think. But you have to engage, right? I think that saying, if you get out what you put in, you have to engage to really get the most out of it.
Yeah, you just touched on something that's really important, and that's one of the key takeaways for our audience. Networking is not showing up at a conference, listening and leaving. Networking is about contributing, engaging, meaningful dialogue, building strong partnerships, building strong relationships. Totally 100% agree. So I'm going to pivot on you real quickly. How do you instill these critical values in your team?
For me, it starts with you have to know your own values. It sounds simple. I'll tell you that I've worked with coaches throughout my career, both those within organizations, and I've gone outside and worked with coaches. And I know that you are a coach, and that's I love it. That's fantastic. When I was realizing, as odd as it sounds, that there are certain parts of the work that I was doing at the time I really love, and there are some pieces that I don't. Like I went to find a coach to help me really get to what are my values so that I can align my work. I could tell, as simple as it sounds, and I knew that there was something there. And so I worked with a coach named Joe LeDuc, who is one of the people who has really helped me. And so I started with doing the work for me to really identify what my values are. And, so over, several months we worked through this, and it got me to the point where I've got effectively a vocation statement, a personal vocation. It's providing space for people to thrive. And
love that.
I knew it was right when I thought about it, and I see that's what I want to do in the job. That's what I want to do as a husband. That's what I want to do as a parent. And so I knew it was right. And so that I'd say that part up front, got to do the work to figure out who you are. And for me, that was actual work. It was, I didn't just know. With that, then, you can speak with authenticity about being a values-based leader, that there's a mission, but but values are right there and it's important. And I think when it comes through like that, people believe, okay, this person actually believes it. It's just not words on a poster. And so I think I start a conversation around values. I'll give an example of a time where we really instilled values in a team. So when I was working at General Electric, I was asked to lead a digital technology center with several hundred employees on a site for serving multiple General Electric businesses. And the purpose of the site had recently changed because of a strategic change at the top level of the business. But I brought together a small group of leaders who had demonstrated a commitment to the community over years at General Electric. So this is people I knew already cared. It wasn't just like titles. It was who really has put the work in. And we started sharing stories about the best experiences that we've had at work. And I can't remember if we even scoped it just to the best experiences. And it was kind of a team where not everyone knew everybody. But as people are sharing their stories, I'm just writing down the values that I'm hearing emerge out of their stories. And then at the end of everyone sharing their stories, so kind of a good team building, activity on top of it, we had this list and you could circle like, oh my goodness, look at some of the common values that we have around accomplishment or around fun. And we said, okay, to be authentic, you have to honor these values. And that's and we shared that with the site. Like, these are our values. But what I thought was neat on top of that was we then took the step to say, so what's it going to look like to an outsider if we're honoring these things? And so one of the things was, like, if we honor fun, if we value fun, then you would expect a leadership team that values fun to hang out together every once in a while. You would just expect to see them going to lunch sometimes. And we didn't like force it, but we took that time to think about, will our behaviors match the values that we put out there? And that was one of the best teams that I ever got to work with. And part of it was also because we were serving a community, but I try to follow that, get to know the values of the team members, have a conversation, and then pull values into, even the recurring one-on-ones when you're having conversations around career aspirations. Yeah. What do you want to do? What do you want to get paid for? What do you love? Yeah. And so
I love that. Yeah, I love that, because what you're talking about is that we have values, but we lived our values.
So at the least, if we provide the opportunity for our employees to honor their values in the job, they'll be satisfied. I'm not saying that without skills and talent, right, we'll probably won't be in business very long. But there's a piece to that of, I want people to, people have the right to be able to love coming into work.
Yeah, of course. And when your value system aligns with your work environment, people do love coming into work. They do. Absolutely, 100%.
I have to share one other thing on this, Tracy.
Yeah, please do.
So I'm a avid podcast consumer, and I read, and I will share that as I was going through that experience, there were a couple of, so I mentioned Joe LeDuc, but there is, some of the material that helped guide my thinking in this. There's a book named Meaningful Work from an author named Sean Askinosie, who is a chocolatier in St. Louis. He's got this beautiful story, but that and the book Man's Search for Meaning, like there's good stuff that's out there to help work through, why do this? So.
Yeah. So just say those names again for our audience in case someone didn't catch them.
Sure. Sean Askinosie is the author of the book Meaningful Work, and he is a chocolatier. And then the other book is Man's Search for Meaning from Viktor Frankl.
Yeah, I've heard of that one, and I've heard. I haven't read it though, so now I've got to go read it. Yeah,
it's powerful.
So my next question for you is: what are some challenges you foresee in IT leadership going forward?
For me now is the balance between cybersecurity and innovation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think the world is, and I think we have to talk about AI because you always have to talk about AI, but I think in the world of AI, risks they're coming at us faster. Yeah. Of course, with that type of technology, you also have huge opportunities, but to secure and protect assets and, human beings. I work in a manufacturing organization where we have, where safety is number one, and people can seriously get injured and or worse. And so the need, that the number one priority of keeping our people safe, keeping our assets safe, paired up with how do you embrace, emerging technologies, and how do you support innovation? That's a tough balance.
Yeah, it's a very well, and it's also a little scary. I know you're very deep into cybersecurity. You probably know a lot more than I do right now in terms of what's going on. But at least for me, the stories that I hear around the replication of the human being leveraged in a scam in fraudulent activity and stuff like that. That is so scary to me.
I'd never heard it called that before, but I love it. That's great. The replication of a human. I love that. Yes, I've seen real examples now. And the technology is certainly more accessible. Even look back 18 months ago at what was capable, and here we are. And it's a huge improvement where the bad actors have to still find a way to get in. And, we recall phishing emails 5 years ago that had poor grammar, and you could, most people could tell. What's available now is so far advanced from that. And we have the same challenge, but
yeah, it's scary. I was actually on the phone with one of our leaders this week, and he said, if you had to see how many, cyber attacks I get just trying to get at me every day, it's every 5 minutes, there's someone pinging me from somewhere in the world, and it's not the same place, pinging, trying to get in. He said, you would be anyone that could really see the back office of all of that would be petrified, which is, it's scary.
Burnout in cybersecurity is a real problem, and it is at all levels within cybersecurity. And going back to providing space for people to thrive, going back to just creating an environment where people can love to work, that aspect of mental health, you have to take it into account, right? It has to be. You have to initiate the conversations. It can't be wait, and then when it happens, provide care.
Totally, absolutely. So one last question before we get into a little bit of fun here. What advice do you have for aspiring IT leaders?
I'm going to hit the same thing because I do think it's so important that, seeking meaning in your work, get to know yourself, get to know your values, get to know what the business is trying to accomplish, get to know your team. I would still say start there, but the other, I'll share one other, and again, it's something I wish I'd have thought of earlier in my career, but it's to see discomfort and to see fear as more of a beacon than as something to avoid. I think very often, and I'm sure that many people have seen this, it is when you take that step towards that thing that you're a little afraid of. Growth, it's the same way that I see kind of the balance between chaos and order in your life. Nobody wants pure order. I think it's dangerous on one side, but it's boring. And so that put one foot in chaos, step towards that thing that you are a bit afraid of. Keep one foot. You can't go pure chaos. But and everyone's going to have their own slider scale on this. But to me, I think that's it. It's when you get that spidey sense of oosh, like that's a little scary. Hey, that might exactly be your compass telling you, like, that's where you go.
I love that. Absolutely love that. And I think that is incredible advice for our audience. I really do. Okay, there's that sound. So I'm going to turn it to some fun here.
All right.
First question. If you could instantly become an expert in something, what would it be?
Parenting.
That's a good one. I haven't heard that one before, but oh my word, that is so good. That is really good.
I feel about as impossible as anything, but yes.
Next one. What is one of your favorite family traditions?
All right. I'm going to break the rules again, and I'm going to give you two, but they're connected. So every Friday night, my wife and I and our two girls have Friday family fun night. And, we've talked, I have 10-year-old girls, and they still love hanging out with their parents, and I love it. And it's no more than pizza and a movie or games, but my kids love it so much that we've had other friends come over on a Friday night. And at the end, the girls were a little upset. They're like, that's our night. And that didn't count. So that's kind of the big thing, weekly thing. But every time we have dinner, every night, we also do this high-low buffalo. And it's just, everyone goes around and says, what's one high thing? What's one good thing from the day? What's one kind of, sad or negative thing from the day? And the buffalo is just the wild card of whatever you want to say. And it tends to be what they're looking forward to. But
High-low buffalo?
high-low buffalo.
Oh, I'm totally stealing that. High-low buffalo. I'm stealing that. That is very good. That's awesome.
It's a lot of fun.
Well, Jason, it's just been such a delight, a pleasure. I really love spending time with you. And I know that this last, 30 minutes with you is definitely of value to our audience. Some great nuggets of wisdom, and certainly appreciate you spending time with us today.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you so much, Tracy.
Yeah, thank you. All right. So there you have it. Jason Torrez in the flesh. Great to spend time with him. And remember, leadershipmomentspodcast.com. Please subscribe and please listen in to all of our amazing speakers that we have with us and amazing leaders.
And that concludes another episode of Leadership Moments. We hope you found inspiration and valuable insights in what we shared today. Remember, leadership is not defined solely by titles or positions, but by the choices we make and the moments that shape us.
Embrace the challenges that come your way, for they may be the very moments that propel you toward greatness. We'd love to hear your thoughts and stories as well. Connect with us on our website at leadershipmomentspodcast.com or through social media on Instagram at Tracy_Ann Palmer.
And Stacy Castor _. Remember, your leadership moment could be just around the corner, waiting for you to seize it. This is Stacy Castor, and what doesn't challenge you won't change you.
And this is Tracy Ann Palmer. And be the change you wish to see in the world.